300 yards, at Huntercombe roundabout, take the first exit onto Huntercombe Spur heading to M4, London. Exit the roundabout onto Huntercombe Spur. Keep left at the fork. In a quarter of a mile, merge onto M4. Continue on M4 for 11 miles.
how can they make risk assessments? Do they know that there's different risks involved in outdoors? Where is that to back up that personal responsibility?
Professor, thank you for your time this morning. John Drury, you're a social psychologist at the University of Sussex. You specialise in this field and you advise both SAGE and independent SAGE. But of course, as we always say, you were speaking in a personal capacity. It does seem, even as I speak now, it's masks that you're calling about, and we will have that conversation because I know we touched on this yesterday. I have nothing but respect for people who want to wear masks all the time. But now that the guidance from the Prime Minister is, as I say, is guidance. It is not mandatory. So what do you expect? Meanwhile, in other news, and coming up after the LBC news headlines, down came the rain.
Flash flooding across London caused travel chaos last night. MLBC's Rachel Venables with the details.
And it started 5 years ago today, but it ended, sadly, like this.
I do so with enormous and enduring gratitude to have had the opportunity to serve the country I love.
Then Prime Minister Theresa May, understandably shedding a tear as she announced she was quitting 10 Downing Street. 5 years ago, she walked across the threshold. How will history judge her? We'll look at that later in the show. 7:16 LBC News headlines now. Simon Conway.
The England defender Tyrone Mings has accused the Home Secretary Priti Patel of pretending to be disgusted by the racist abuse sent to his teammates on social media. A major nightclub firm says it won't be asking people to show their NHS COVID pass when their venues in England can reopen on Monday, as the government is encouraging them to do. And we'll find out later if Scotland will move to its next easing of restrictions next week. The weather dry for most, with sunny spells, a high of 23 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Anne-Marie Walsh. A few things to tell you about on the tubes. There's no service on the Circle line, no service on the District line between Turnham Green and Richmond, and from Elscourt to Edgware Road and South Kensington, and no service on the Hammersmith and City line between Hammersmith and Edgware Road. To the trains, London Overground services are suspended. That's from Euston to Kilburn High Road, from Camden Road to Richmond and Clapham Junction, and from Gospel Oak to Upper Holloway. To the roads, and the A13 in Shadwell remains blocked both ways at Cavill Street for accident investigation work.
This is LBC. What's that? The website's totally down. Dev's web hosting business urgently needs a senior systems engineer if he wants to keep his clients on Cloud 9. No, don't worry. We'll get it sorted. Indeed can help him click with the right person with video interviews. I need Indeed. Indeed you do. Schedule and conduct video interviews easily, all on Indeed. To start hiring, visit Indeed.com/try today. Call Nick Ferrari now. 0345 6060 973. This is LBC. I hear drums. They let us sense when things are a bit off. It made us wonder, what if a car could have sensors too? Like a lane departure warning system that tells when you're going off course and helps get you back on track. The new Honda Jazz Hybrid. Honda, the power of dreams. I'm sorry, you have progressive memory loss.
When you hear these words, the outlook is bleak. But at Recognition Health, the brain and mind experts, we're working to change that. Volunteer for our clinical studies to receive free access to a new generation medication, as well as comprehensive medical screening. With your help, we can change the future of MCI and Alzheimer's disease.
You have progressive memory loss, but here's what we can do.
Go to brainandmindexperts.com.
London, let's get our COVID-19 vaccinations sorted. If you're 18 and over, you can book right now. Or if you're over 40, you could get fully vaccinated faster by bringing your second jab forward. Just visit nhs.uk/COVID vaccination today. The sooner, the safer. Every vaccination gives us hope.
The real reason Sleeping Beauty fell asleep was because it was taking so long for the palace to sell, and the handsome prince needed the proceeds to buy their new home with no time to dwell.
I know who can help. Property Rescue. I'll contact them straight away.
So he spoke to their friendly team who took care of every detail. They bought the palace direct with no legal fees to pay. Fast forward to living happily ever after. Visit propertyrescue.co.uk. Property Rescue. Fast forward to sold. Welcome to the show, Pete. Oh yeah. You know what you've got to do? You name everything you can get
aspects really from the Prime Minister's speech and different takes on it for the...
In 2 miles, at junction 3, take the A312 exit to Harrow, Hayes.
Ashwood told us in his package, as it's called in his story, you could be looking at infections of around 5,000 a day and deaths 200 a day. That's the prediction for around a month's time, middle of next month. So the Mail picks up on that. Green light for Freedom Day, but go easy is the Daily Express, which I think probably actually accurately sums up what we heard from the PM. Thousands in hospital each day if the UK is hasty, which is something we reference. That's the front page of the Times. The Financial Times, Johnson, as in the Prime Minister, shifts onus to companies on imposing COVID-19 restrictions. Again, lifting it now. Similar theme for the Guardian, as I've just expressed. PM lifts restrictions despite fears of the exit wave and 200 deaths a day. That figure really does jump out at you from the headlines. For the Daily Telegraph, Johnson urges use of vaccine passports, and we're going to be looking at that idea of vaccine passports a little later in the show. Front page of the Eye also reflects 3.8 million vulnerable people are told to avoid people who haven't had both jabs as the Eye. It's a little bit difficult, of course, to work out how quite they're meant to know whether or not you've had the jabs, but you can really only find out if you ask them. The remaining 3 papers will go with the football, various aspects of it. The Metro, that's the story that is, I think, leading the BBC News, but as I said, I heard it on a few moments ago. England star slams Patel. This is Tyrone Mings, who's attacked the Home Secretary Priti Patel, accusing her of encouraging racist fans who target black players. We're looking at that clash between the two, if you will, a little bit later in the show. The ugly face of football returns as the front page of the Daily Mirror. And these are 2 police officers, and I hold no criticism for them. Indeed, one poor individual has had his head quite heavily bandaged, and there's blood all over his tunic and his high-vis jacket. This is that senior officer who's played it twice, saying what happens outside Wembley was okay, and what went wrong with inside in Wembley. How the hell? He's a DAC, he's a deputy. How does he think they got in? They just magicked themselves there. Or like something out of Star Trek, they suddenly popped up. Dear God. And he was in charge of it. That's coming up a little bit later. I haven't given the front page of the Sun, let me do that quickly. And they are picking up on that, and they have the pictures of the 3 players, 2 of whom have their penalties saved. One of them missed. It drives me mad when they talk about missing penalties. If a goalkeeper saves it, that's not a miss. Speaking as the father of 2 lads who played football for their school sides as goalkeepers.
In a quarter of a mile, at junction 3, take the A312 exit to Harrow, Hayes.
Okay, let's come to how you're going to convert the Prime Minister's guidance yesterday, far from instructions as regards masks. Who's up first? Stella in Enfield. What do you plan to do? What do you take from what you know from the PM? Good morning.
Exit at junction 3.
What would you say to people who don't? If you find yourself in Asda or Waitrose and someone's not got a mask, what are you going to think?
I'm just going to think that it's been a bit irresponsible. It actually happened to me.
In a quarter of a mile, at Cranford Parkway interchange, take the 3rd exit onto the Parkway A312.
You know, I mean, when these restrictions began 60 months ago, I hated wearing a mask. But now, I've gone the complete opposite. I'll definitely be wearing it.
When you say you've gone the complete, you don't mean you. I mean, I appreciate and I recognise and respect you, but you don't enjoy wearing it, do you?
No, I don't.
No,
I mean,
right.
I hate it. I really hate it. But
Right.
I've been conditioned in wearing it now. But you know, for me, wearing it in shops, I'll definitely be wearing it in shops for definite. I mean, when I come out the shop, I take it off. Don't get me wrong. But I just see the government at the moment has been a little bit, you know, irresponsible by saying you don't have to wear it.
Would you want to have heard yesterday? I'm going to tell. This is the Prime Minister speaking. I'm going to say I want masks for at least another month, and I'll come back to you in August. Words to that effect.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Even longer, to be honest.
Longer. Okay.
Honestly, even longer. Yeah.
Okay. Stella, look after yourself. Thank you. Have a good day. Let's see what the picture is in Spain. We go to Mark, who's on the Costa del Sol, which is a big place. Whereabouts on the Costa del Sol, Mark? Good morning.
Hi there, Nick. Just outside Estepona.
Okay, I know exactly where you are. What's the situation with masks on buses and trains in Spain, Mark?
Well, it's basically if you're indoors or you're in a crowded area, you have to wear your mask.
Right.
But now for the last 2 weeks, they've actually dropped the wearing of the mask outside. When you've got plenty of space, you can you basically keep safe distance. So,
Yeah.
and that's what I said, it's needed because the temperature's got so hot here, I'm afraid. It's
I can imagine.
wearing the mask outdoors.
I'm assuming you live in Spain, or you might have got trapped there,
Yes.
isn't it? Okay,
Yes.
so
Yeah,
tell me,
Spain, I worked in Gibraltar, yeah.
okay, how does the guidance or the instructions vary when you watch and you hear how it's being done in the UK compared to how it's being done in Spain?
Exit the roundabout onto the parkway.
Well, the biggest difference I would say is that people know where they stand in Spain. Basically, since the very start of this, of course,
Continue on the parkway for 1 mile.
The lockdowns that we had in Spain were incredibly hard. We were actually not even allowed outside.
I remember that.
But when we weren't allowed outside, it was mandatory to wear a mask by law. And if you were actually caught by the police, when the police are walking along by the beach or anything like that, you were caught by it, you were pretty much automatically fined €300.
Right.
Now, I personally think in some ways, the people in Spain were actually more worried of getting the fine than they were of actually catching COVID at some point. Because you would walk into supermarkets and anything like that, the security guys would come straight up to you if you weren't wearing a mask. You were put out. So pretty much everybody in Spain, and still are, some people are actually still wearing masks even though they're allowed to not wear them at this moment in time.
Mark, thank you for the picture in Spain. Safe travels today if you're going to. You might be coming back from Gibraltar. Thanks. Really interesting to get the picture there. It does seem as it's a little tougher than we've had in the UK. Mark, thanks. Good to hear from you. Let's go to other stories. And I mentioned there's a £700 million package of works on the way to one of London's tube lines. Let's go to LBC's Rachel Venables, who's at Bank Station, and will tell us more about that in a moment. But first, just reference, because there's been flooding in parts of southwest London and indeed the whole southwest of the country. Rachel, start with that if you would. Morning.
Good morning, Nick. Yes, I think wherever you were in London and certainly parts of the southeast yesterday afternoon into the early evening, you will have heard the rain battering down on the roof, flashes of thunder and lightning as well. But in some areas, the downpours caused flash flooding, which just led to travel chaos yesterday. We had streets in London submerged. You could see videos of streams of water pouring down steps as a number of London train and tube stations were forced to close. Cars getting stranded as well. You had some Euston station lines had to shut, so did several underground stations as well, including Chalk Farm and Hampstead up in the north of the city and Wimbledon down in the south. Now in total, London Fire Brigade said it took more than 1,000 calls related to flooding yesterday. We've also seen pictures of people swimming in ponds that were created by the thunderstorms, and the tenants of one estate in North Kensington complained that the storm actually caused a nearby manhole cover to blow up with water and raw sewage then flowing around the block. It wasn't just in the southeast as well though. Elsewhere in the UK, Preston also affected by flooding. A large section of the M6 had to be closed to traffic for some time yesterday afternoon. But back here in the city, photographer Chris Ward was in Shepherd's Bush yesterday and he described some of the scenes to LBC.
I saw cars get stranded, motorbikes and mopeds getting stuck in the water, which was above knee height in some places, sort of main arterial routes that were coming just impassable. It was quite shocking to see.
Well, speaking of travel chaos, Nick, I'm here at Bank Station in the City of London, which is booked in for a £700 million facelift next year, with the result that a key part of the Northern Line running between Kennington and Moorgate through Bank is going to be shut from mid-January to mid-May, a 17-week blockade, just as TfL will no doubt be hoping to return to pre-pandemic.
In 200 yards at Wagoners Roundabout, take the second exit and stay on the parkway, A312.
They're worried it'll be hugely disruptive.
That could have been provided then, but I can appreciate that people will be frustrated and annoyed if there's plans to do it for next year.
I work around Moorgate. Yeah, it should affect me somewhere. Yeah.
And you hadn't heard this before? This is the first time you're hearing about it? If we were all back normal and all the offices were filled with staff, then yeah, it would cause a problem. But the fact that we're still in a pandemic and I think we're going to go on for another lockdown, I think it'd be fine.
That's the first I've heard of it. It's going to be a complete disaster. There are times when the Northern Line is down in Clapham.
Exit the roundabout onto the parkway. Continue on A312 for 1.5 miles.
Yeah, it'll be terrible.
Confused and concerned passengers sharing their views with LBC's Rachel Venables reporting from Bank Station. Rachel, thank you. We'll return to your conversations about what you took from the Prime Minister's views and what you take away from that. staying with the Prime Minister, let's go back to his expression yesterday, his hopes for a joint UK-Ireland bid for World Cup 2030.
Let's also dare to start to hope that together with Ireland, our United Kingdom can host the World Cup in 2030.
Well, to get that, some tough questions have to be asked about what went wrong at Wembley, the Wembley woes, which it would seem a senior copper from the Met either doesn't know or doesn't recognise Lawrence Taylor.
How Wembley managed the fans inside the venue is for Wembley, and policing is for outside.
What a load of cop claptrap. More on that later. 7:31, you're listening to Breakfast with me, Nick Ferrara, here on LBC. The news is...
Racist abuse faced by his teammates on social media. He's accused the Home Secretary of pretending to be disgusted after she previously refused to criticise fans who booed the team for taking the knee. Ms Patel's declined to comment on Ming's tweet. The owner of 42 nightclubs says they won't be using COVID passports when they're allowed to reopen in England from Monday. Boris Johnson said yesterday that large venues will be encouraged to use the certification for customers, but it won't be a requirement. MPs are due to vote later on whether to restore international aid spending to 0.7% of national income. There's been cross-party criticism of the government's decision to reduce it to 0.5% because of the economic impact of the pandemic. And the weather dry for most with sunny spells, a few showers likely, but they'll be much lighter than on recent days, becoming warmer, a high of 23 degrees.
This is LBC.
We can all do our bit for our environment. You can now recycle soft plastics like crisp packets and bread bags at Co-op. All you have to do is clean it, scrunch it, and Co-op it. Co-op is what we do. Selected Co-op group stores. For more details about which plastics you can recycle with us, just go to coop.co.uk/soft-plastics.
We've got it at Selco. Selco is where the trade goes. At Selco Builders Warehouse, we've got real deals on a wide range of trade quality building products. In July, we've got 7.5 litres of brilliant white Dulux trade vinyl massive touch for only £25.75 ex-VAT. Now that's a real deal. Find even more real deals at Selco Builders Warehouse and online at selcodw.com. We've got it at Selco. Selco is where the trade goes. VAT charged at 20%. Attention, please. Here's something I bet you didn't know. Not all supplements are created equal. You see, in HealthSpan, we only use vitamin D3, which absorbs into your body more effectively than vitamin D2. Our Optiflex glucosamine contains 40% more pure glucosamine than standard glucosamine sulfate. And our OptiTurmeric absorbs 7 times faster than our standard turmeric. What a hard-working bunch. Well, that is the HealthSpan way. We're healthspan.co.uk. Vitamins and supplements in-store and direct to your door. Do your teeth stop you from smiling and eating? Do you hate the thought of false teeth? Talk to TDC about Smile in a Day dental implants. TDC Smile in a Day dental implants look and work just like real teeth, so you can eat what you want and smile when you want.
I just wish I'd gone to TDC years ago.
Let TDC restore your teeth and your smile. Book your consultation today. Visit smileinaday.co.uk. The one and only sausage and egg McMuffin from McDonald's. With a freshly cracked free-range egg, perfectly seasoned sausage and oozing cheese. Oh, that's proper good, that. What he said. McDonald's. Breakfast done properly. Served until 11 AM, participating restaurants only. Lockdown.